Hi everybody, this is Osprey from MyChartCoach.com, and we're looking at the marijuana sector today. The markets are down across the board, but the marijuana sector is smoking. Okay, so we've got the Canadian legalization from a couple of days ago, and so that was a big deal. It sent the Canadian stocks moving, and so yeah, the charts are pushing some new all-time highs for some of the stocks. So yeah, let's take a look at the charts. So first up is Horizons Marijuana Life Sciences Index ETF. Ticker symbol Hmlsf for on over-the-counter markets. It also trades on the Toronto Stock Exchange. As you can see, it's lightly traded, but this does cover the Canadian marijuana stocks. So the stocks within that sector are in this ETF. And so as you can see here, it's breaking out above the highs here. So you've got a break above this June high, and so if it can stay above that level at 15, that's going to signal it wants to head higher. It's got this nice uptrend going. So now it needs to break the March high close. So it's hitting that level. If it can get above 1550, that's going to signal it wants to keep pushing. It's on a nice 4-day run. It's trading above all the moving averages here on the chart, and it's riding EMA 4 and 8 support higher. As long as EMA 4 at 1474 support keeps holding, as you can see over here on the left-hand side, that's the top moving average on this chart. The uptrend is intact and is still strong. Right now, you can see there's no upper wick on the candle. It is pushing high of day. So check out MJ. This is the alternative harvest ETF. It also has tobacco stocks, so it's not a pure marijuana play like ETF, like Hmlsf, but it does cover. It does have lots of exposure to the marijuana sector in here. Stuff like Scott's Miracle Grow, etc., on top of other publicly traded companies within the sector. And so what's going on here is it's got a nice uptrend. It's been turning all the moving averages into support. It's above the 50, 100, 200, and 300-day simple moving averages. And so if it can stay above all those levels down here, that's going to signal it's going to want to push higher. The next big level to break is the closing price here on the 6th. If it can get above this 32 resistance zone, then it could run up here to 3350 and test that March high close. So it's got a nice move going here. It's hitting the PSAR level, so the dots could flip below the candles. It closed yesterday above the 100-day simple moving average at 3054. That's the big level to hold. As long as it stays above that level, it should signal it wants to head higher. It also closed above that 200-day simple moving average at 3085. They're both right here, so it's that red line there. That's the top moving average on the chart. As long as candles stay above, it's going to signal it wants to head higher. You don't want to see this kind of move like in June where it pulled back. You want to see that level hold. Okay, and so let's look here at some of the individual stocks. Here's Canopy Growth, the #1 company in the world. It's breaking out here to new all-time highs. It's up over 6% today, so congrats everybody. Now that it's trading over here on the big boards, it's on the New York Stock Exchange, the first marijuana company on the New York Stock Exchange, and it trades options. And so people are doing well with the options trading, so come check out the chat. We've been discussing the options there, and yeah, it's cool to see that you can trade options with publicly traded marijuana companies now. So yeah, just another trading vehicle. As you can see, it's on the strong multi-day run. It's up 5 days in a row, and it's pushing hard here. It's hitting that 36 all-time high level. It's trying to bust through. The whole thing right now it's going on the blue sky breakout mode. And so what we do now is you have to follow the intraday charts, and then if you want to play the daily chart, what we ride is the EMA 4. As long as that's holding there at 33.88, this chart is strong. If it drops below, that'll signal that it could possibly consolidate, similar to here and here. These two red candles, they got below and then it pulled back. As long as the middle Bollinger Band down here at 30.28 is holding, that level broke back here in April, then the uptrend is intact. Okay, so that's a signal that it's in a very strong uptrend. Right now it's busting through that upper Bollinger Band, and it's riding EMA 4 support higher. This is as bullish as it gets. You got a recent MACD bull crossover on both time frames, and so that's signaling the possible new push higher along with this PSAR bull flip. The dots are now below the candles. It is at 99 here in fast dose, so it's temporarily overbought, and it is at 75 on RSI, and so you can see here, it topped out around 80 last time. Okay, so let's look at CGC on the on a longer frame daily chart here. And so this is showing the January resistance. This was the all-time high up here, this top red line, and you can see today's candles busting above that level. So now it needs to close above that level, and that'll be the signal that wants to head higher. If it pulls back and it fails to close above 36, it could stall out up here. And then as you can see here, it has this upward channel. It has the ascending resistance here. And so yesterday it closed above the channel. You know, it needs to stay above 33. If it dropped below 33, it could get back in that previous channel. It's trying to bust out to that next level. Look at the huge volume that came in. I mean, giant volumes pouring in. And look at MACD down here. It's nice how it just crossed over. So that does signal the possible next push. I mean, look at what happened the last time it had a crossover was back here in May and April. And that was the start of a run. Okay, and so we'll see if this is going to be the start or if it's going to take a breather here first. Let's look at the CGC weekly chart. Okay, so each candle on this chart represents 1 week of trading. This goes back into 2016. You can see it's just been, the signal for this has just been to ride. You know, if you could have weathered some of the storms here, we did put out that 5 bounce alert. That was the classic call. We had alerts to load at 5 and noticed a hit right there. And ever since that 5 level, it's just been going up. It's just been a long-term hold since we put out this chart back here in what was that, June of 2017. And so congrats to everybody that loaded down here and is still riding, because it's just it's a long-term investment for a lot of people. This is the #1 marijuana company in the world. If you want exposure to the sector, this is the safest way to play, even though, you know, it is hitting these lofty valuations. But you have to think like Tesla and Amazon, and you know, it's all about market dominance. And so right now they're dominating the market, but it's hitting this upper wick here. This is the all-time high, and so it's going to need to stay above that level in order to head higher. It's currently, you know, breaking that. If there was a weekly close above that level, that'd be really bullish. If it closed above that level tomorrow, as long as it keeps riding EMA4 at 31.98, this uptrend is intact and still super strong. Okay, so yeah, let's look at the CGC 15-minute chart here. You can see here it has this really nice uptrend going. You know, if you were looking for the time to load, it was down here when it got above all the moving averages. It came down here, had a nice bounce off the 50 simple moving average, and then yeah, right now it's pushing pretty hard. It's up here at that 36 all-time high level. I would keep my eye on the middle Bollinger Band here, this dotted purple line at the 35.53 level. If you see that 35.50 break, that's where it could possibly consolidate and then come back down and test that 50 simple moving average like it did yesterday. As long as that level's holding, you know, the uptrend's intact. Right now it's riding EMAs 4 and 8 really strong, so if it did drop below EMA 8, that would be a bearish change in trend. There hasn't been a close below EMA 8 since back here on yesterday at 1:15. Okay, so let's look at Cronus. Cronus is another optionable. You could trade options with Cronus Group as well. It trades on the NASDAQ. And so this is a chart we've been working on. And notice that RSI is at 62, so it still has more juice in the tank. Fasto is at 75. You got plus DI here at 31. The big thing here is it got above the 100-day simple moving average yesterday at 709. As long as that level holds, that's signaling more upside potential. That's the gold line right there. And then what it's doing, it's hitting this white candle here. It needs to break above this $8 resistance zone, the $7.90 to $8 resistance zone. If it can close above the closing price in the 6, that's going to signal it wants to head higher. If it fails to break above 8, this is where it could get it, you know, form a temporary top. You want to see it hold EMA4 at 732. It's on a nice 3-day run. Notice the green dots here, they're getting ready to flip once it hits that level. Look at the crossover here. It was pinched and then it crossed back over. The 8, 13, and 5 just crossed over. So the chart's signaling that it could push to that next level. It just has to break through the 8 resistance zone. If you look at the 15-minute chart, it's super strong here. It's pushing really hard. It got above that 300 simple moving average yesterday. That's when it was trading above all the moving averages on the chart. It has a strong one going. It needs to stay above this middle Bollinger Band at 761. If it dropped below, that could signal downside risk, possible drop to that 50 simple moving average. Okay, take a look at Aurora Cannabis, up 4.5% here. This stock got above the 100-day simple moving average yesterday. This is the #2 cannabis company in the world. Got above this gold line here. As long as it can stay above that level at 729, that's going to signal more upside potential. Today it's going for a close above high close resistance there on the 6th of June. If it can stay above that level, that's going to signal it wants to break out higher. It's hitting the high here. I guess maybe that was the 5th of June, and then on the 6th of June it's hitting the open from that level. It needs to break above that. If it can get above 790, you know, it could keep pushing higher, possibly work its way back up here to this $9 range. So it's all, you know, has a nice uptrend going here. It's above above the 50 and 100-day simple moving averages, it's right now it's currently trading above all the moving averages on the chart over here, and it's riding EMA for support higher. That's as bullish as it gets. It just has to keep staying above support and making new highs. Okay, so let's look at the Acbff 15-minute chart. You can see it's really channeled out here. It's got a really tight channel, and so either resistance or support is going to break. It needs to get above this closing price here at 130. If it can do that, that's going to signal it wants to head higher. If it drops below that middle Bollinger Band, that's going to signal downside risk. Okay, take a look at Aphqf. Aphqf is one of the top marijuana companies as well, up 6% today. Nice move for Aphqf. It's breaking above the red and gold lines today. That's the 200 and 300 or 100-day simple moving averages. If it can close above the 100-day simple moving average at 982, that would be super bullish. That's the top moving average on this chart. When that turns into support, it should signal it wants to head higher. It has to break the high close from May. So if we can get through this 10 resistance zone, it could possibly run back up here into the 11s. That was the prior resistance from back there in March. So right now it needs to stay above that 980 zone just to signal that it wants to head higher. If it were to drop back below, that would just signal it's not ready. It did close above the middle Bollinger Band at 917 yesterday, so it's trying to get a new uptrend going. Keep in mind it is already on a what is that, 6-day run. So if it stalls out here at the 100-day simple moving average, it could take a breather. Okay, let's look at Medff here. This is Medff. This is another top cannabis stock, and so it's breaking out higher today as well. And so as you could see, yeah, this is Medff, Medff, up over 6% today. It doesn't have that much volume, but it is breaking out higher. Yeah, you've got the break above high close horizontal resistance intraday. So that closing price there, yeah, is the key level to break. If it can break above that, that's going to be the signal that if it's to close above, that it should want to keep pushing higher. And then it just needs to stay above that level. So it has to turn this 22-25 level into support, and that'll signal it wants to keep pushing. It has a nice uptrend going. Notice how the middle Bollinger Band's been holding on the pullbacks, and it just has a nice channel. It's trying to break out to the next level. Notice the increasing volume pattern. Yeah, so this is a good one right now. It's doing well. We just have to see if it can go to the next level. Okay, take a look at Nept. This did have a pullback today. They announced a deal with Canopy Growth a couple of days ago to sell them CBDs, and this was white candle formed, and then it followed through yesterday with the big move. But today the candles are working back into the bands. Notice how yesterday's candle was way above the upper Bollinger Band, which is down here in the purple line. The candles are just working back in the bands. What has to happen is you want to see EMA 4 at 366 hold. That's the pink line right there. As long as that holds, the chart's still super strong and it could keep pushing higher. There's really big volume here. So let's see if it can hold that 366 level and get a bounce. As you can see here, it's consolidating sideways. Well, the big level to hold on the 15-minute chart here is the 50 simple moving average. If it can hold this 388 level, the green line, this is where it should get a bounce. What you want to see is a break above the middle Bollinger Band at 402. If it can turn that $4 level into support, that should be the signal that it's back in play. All right, so it's really, it consolidated here, but it's really holding up well, and so this is likely to push higher. Notice the really light volume here, so volume's drying up. Look for a volume spike and a possible push through resistance. If there was a volume spike and a breakdown below support, that would be a red flag. Okay, so take a look at Blozf here. This stock is the cannabis breathalyzer company, Cannabix Technologies, and so yeah, like you can, there's not a good a device out there for, if you get pulled over for a DUI, they have great devices for breathalyzers to see if you've been drinking alcohol, but there's not much on the market for breathalyzers for marijuana, so this company's been working on it. So yeah, this is another way to play the marijuana sector without actually working, without having exposure to actual marijuana itself. And so Blozf here is heating up. We did put out alerts on this in the chat yesterday that it was breaking that middle Bollinger Band, so congrats everybody that took action. Today was the nice move higher. It broke above that 250-day simple moving averages, and so it's hitting the 100-day simple moving average at 158. It was looking better earlier when it was trading above. It needs to close above that level for the signal that wants to head higher. It's heating up here, but it has to break resistance. The downside risk is there's a gap between high of day yesterday day and low of day today. So if it failed to break that 100-day simple moving average and pull back, it might try to fill that gap. As long as the middle Bollinger Band at 131 holds, this new uptrend should continue. Okay, so let's look at Imlff. This is having a nice bounce here. For some reason, this one just totally tanked. The other marijuana sector stocks from Canada were holding up well. It must have bad financing. Usually when you see a penny stock with this type of chart, it's caused by dilution. It just can't get a run going. Every time it gets a bounce, they sell it off. Every time it tries to get a move going, above the middle Bollinger Band, it can't stay above. Now it's down to that bottom moving average, which is the 300-day simple moving average at 62. If it can stay above that level and EMA4 at 64, the pink line, it could get a sustained bounce here. This is the bottom support level. This is where it should find support. If it were to drop below 62 and turn into resistance, that would be a major red flag signaling downside risk. It's got to get above the EMA13 at 68. If it does, that'd put the middle Bollinger Band at 72 on deck. So nice bounce down here. We'll see. It looks like a bullish engulfing reversal pattern. Oh yeah, and then this has this gap up here. So you've got a gap between high of day on this candle and low of day on this candle, so it has to come up here and break the bottom of the gap level. If it did, then it could fill the gap and run to that 200-day simple moving average. So check out Ogrmf. This is that cannabis company that was mentioned by Motley Fool as a takeover candidate. Has a nice upturn going. It really sold off. It had that big pullback here, and it held the middle Bollinger Band support level. As long as that holds, this uptrend is still intact, so it needs to stay above 411, and then now it needs to break the high close resistance level here. If it can break this closing price on the 8th, then it should break out higher. That's the 448 level, 450 level. Above 450 would be really bullish. Below 411 would signal downside risk. Okay, so take a look at Sprwf here. Closed up 2%, or not closed, but it's up 2% right now. So what's going on with this stock is it needs to stay above this middle Bollinger Band. Keep an eye on it here at 129, at basically 130. If it can stay above 130, it could possibly get a new uptrend going. So we need to see it stay above that level. And then the next levels to break are the 100 and 200-day simple moving averages. If it can get above 141, it could break out higher. Okay, and now let's look at Nxttf here. Okay, so this is another marijuana company. They have a deal. I think it's with Canopy Growth. It's either Canopy Growth or Aurora Cannabis, or Aurora. I can't remember. It's one of the two, but they are a supplier of I believe equipment. And so this should heat up with the other marijuana sector stocks. So what you want to see here is a break above that 50-day simple moving average at 120. It closed above that level the first week of June. It got above that level in May. It's been failing to turn that level into support. Once it finally does, that should signal it wants to break out higher. And then it's got to get above that gold line. That's the top moving average on the chart. If it can get above 135, that should be the signal it's ready to run. So keep an eye on it. The chart's setting up. The Bollinger Bands are tight. It's been in this sideways channel. We'll see if this is enough to get it going with the with the cannabis sector running. Okay, let's look at Attbf for the last one here, and yeah, I think they do the cannabis testing. And for contaminants and concentration, or for THC levels and CBD levels and all that kind of stuff. I believe that's what this company does. And so keep an eye on them. They're currently below the middle Bollinger Band, and so what we're looking for is a break above 15. Once it gets above 15, it could heat up, and then it's got to get above the 50-day simple moving average. Once candles are formed above 16, that should be the signal that it's ready to push higher finally, after dropping below way back here in February. And that would be the bullish change in trend after this huge consolidation, and then we'd be looking for a run back up into the 20s. Okay, thanks for viewing this marijuana sector video. Please come check out the chat. Come check out the premium chat. You can come check it out and see all the great technical analysis information and alerts. All right, thank you.